Health officials around the world are racing to contain a deadly outbreak of hantavirus that's linked to this cruise ship in the Atlantic. The Dutch airline KLM says one of the ship's passengers, who later died after contracting the virus, boarded a flight in South Africa before the plane's crew decided she was too sick to travel. The Georgia Department of Public Health says 2 people who returned home to the state after getting off the ship are being monitored right now, and one Arizona resident who was also on board is also being watched by officials there. And according to the New York Times, California residents were on the ship as well. CNN's Randy Kay looks now at how this virus may have spread.
This was an expedition boat, and many of the people on board were doing bird watching.
Turns out a birdwatching tour may be the source of this hantavirus outbreak. According to the Associated Press, 2 Argentine officials investigating how this started said their government is leaning toward the idea that a Dutch couple contracted the virus while birdwatching in the city of Ushuaia, Argentina, before boarding the ship. The AP reports the couple visited a landfill during the tour and may have been exposed to infected rodents. That 70-year-old Dutch man was the first to die on the ship, days after they left port in Argentina. His 69-year-old wife died about 2 weeks later. The rest of the people on board, including nearly 150 passengers, are now on a 3 to 4 day journey from Cape Verde to Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Spain has agreed to receive the ship there. Upon arrival, the plan is for all passengers to be taken to a nearby airport and sent back to their home countries. The 14 Spanish citizens will be examined and go directly into quarantine at a Madrid hospital.
This is the country of Cape Verde in front of us, but it is forbidden to go down to it.
This travel vlogger on board posted on social media about the predicament they now find themselves in.
Today was supposed to be the last day of our 35-day trip on the Atlantic, but it is clear that our journey will not end here because Cape Verde refused to receive us on its coasts.
Earlier today, this medical evacuation boat removed 3 sick people from the ship. On their way to the Netherlands, a source from Spain's health ministry told CNN that Morocco refused to let the plane carrying 2 of the evacuees land to refuel. Instead, it made an unscheduled landing at Gran Canaria Airport to do so.
People are usually infected through contact with infected rodents, or their urine, their droppings, or their saliva. Human-to-human transmission is uncommon.
Yet in this case, the World Health Organization believes the virus may have been transmitted person to person on board. And just today, following lab tests, confirmed this is the Andes strain of the virus, which has spread among close contacts before.
We're also working with authorities for anyone that has left the ship.
In fact, the Swiss Federal Office of Public Health has confirmed that a passenger who traveled on the first leg of the voyage and disembarked at St. Helena on April 24th has now tested positive for hantavirus. That passenger, according to the cruise company, is being treated at a hospital in Zurich. His wife, who was with him, has not shown symptoms but is self-isolating as a precaution. Randy Kay, CNN, New York.
And today, a German woman who may have been exposed to the virus on board that ship was picked up by a convoy of emergency vehicles after being flown to Amsterdam. Doctors say the woman is in stable condition but remains quarantined. For more on what life is like for the 150 people still on board the infected ship, I want to bring in CNN's Melissa Bell. Wow, I mean, personally, this would be my worst nightmare, to be on this ship, knowing what's going on with this virus that can incubate for up to 8 weeks, right, Melissa?
That's right. With all the confusion and uncertainty that has gone on the ship itself, you know, we've now seen the video of the initial captain's announcement that was made the day after that first patient, the Dutchman, died, explaining that he died and that they believed that it was natural causes and so on. And it was only later, much later, that it was understood that this virus had been at play. The company that runs the ship has put out a statement explaining that it wasn't known at the time. It took them some time to figure out that this was a virus and that everyone needed to quarantine. And of course, as we just heard, people then disembarked in St. Helena. There was another disembarkation in Ascension Island. 3 more people disembarked at Cape Verde because by then we knew the virus was going around and these were suspected or confirmed cases. For those still on board, what we understand is happening, Pamela, is that they're being quarantined in their own rooms. They're staying inside their cabins. Their food is being brought to them there. And all the precautions are being taken so that there are no further infections or transmissions of this Andes strain of hantavirus. Now, at least they have a port in sight, and this had been unclear for some time, really until yesterday. We didn't know what port would accept taking in this ship and dealing then with what will be a very complicated operation to get these 147 passengers off, all the crew members off as well, to quarantine them and to successfully take them to where they need to go. You showed a moment ago that convoy in Germany. That is just one passenger suspected, confirmed, but still one passenger getting from the ship to Amsterdam and onwards to a hospital that can treat them. Imagine that multiplied by the number of people who are going to get off the ship. We've just been hearing, however, from the World Health Organization, and they say that beyond the 5 confirmed cases and the 3 people who sadly died, there has been no further identified transmission on board. So that is the good news. But again, this is a strain of the virus that has an incubation period of 8 weeks, which substantially complicates things for anyone who's been in contact with either people who've left or for those who are still on the ship or will be in contact with them when they get off, Pamela.
Off the coast of West Africa, a cruise ship under quarantine.
Yeah, that's the doctor.
3 more passengers medically evacuated, all tied to a deadly outbreak of hantavirus, a rare, typically rodent-borne disease with no specific treatment or cure. The open decks of the MV Hantavirus deserted, dining rooms empty, passengers told to stay in their cabins.
Hi, I'm Jake, and I'm spending the next 35 days crossing the Atlantic visiting some of the most remote islands in the world.
This is how the journey began for Jake Rosemarine, a Boston photographer, one of around 150 people on board.
People with families, with lives, with people waiting for us at home.
Health officials are now retracing the ship's route, trying to figure out where and when passengers became infected. Their 35-day expedition began from the edge of Antarctica, visiting some of the most remote islands in the South Atlantic.
On those islands, there are birds. Some islands have a lot of rodents, others don't.
Hantavirus is usually picked up by breathing in particles from rodent droppings or urine. Symptoms often start like the flu, but can quickly cause severe breathing problems, organ failure, and death. The incubation period, 1 to 8 weeks. Lab tests have yet to confirm it, but investigators think this may be a rare South American strain that sometimes spreads not just from rodents, but between people.
Among the really close contacts, the husband and wife, people who've shared cabins, etc.
This small boat medically evacuated a handful of infected passengers. Investigators say the outbreak began in early April. The first victim, a Dutch passenger, died on board April 11th. His wife died around 2 weeks later in a hospital in South Africa. A third passenger, a German national, died on board on May 2nd. A British passenger remains in intensive care. Everyone else stuck on board, undergoing medical checks, a situation Kent and Rebecca Frazier know all too well.
We don't know how long you have to stay in the hostel.
I met them back in 2020. They were quarantined on the Diamond Princess cruise ship off Japan.
What's the hardest part?
I'd say the unknown.
Rebecca, one of the first Americans to test positive for COVID.
There she is. She's standing in the window right now. Rebecca, here we are. Hi.
She spent weeks in a Tokyo hospital. Kent was quarantined in their cabin.
What would be your advice for passengers stuck on this ship right now?
If you start thinking about what's happening around you, it is so difficult to stay away from a mindset where you're getting depressed and just like really fearful of what's going to happen. You have to try to stay as upbeat as you can.
They know how difficult staying upbeat can be. For everyone on the MV Hantavirus facing fear and uncertainty on a floating quarantine zone.